We're refinishing or remodeling an 1880 house, and we've worked on cleaning up and sealing the old brick walls, and we're keeping most of them, and we're gonna do some inlaid tile above the windows. So this is what we're working with before we get started. To get started, we're going to use some of this heavy-duty plastic that was actually a template for a countertop we installed at another property. And I'm going to fix this above the windows and draw the area that we want to inlay with tile. And we'll cut that out, and I'll use that to help get the designs made before we're ready to put them in place.
All right, so what are we doing? We're marking a template of where we're going to put decorative tile above the doorways and windows. And that used to be a window.
So my question is, am I going from the end? Should be going from the end here, since that board's missing here. So I actually need to move over the width of 7/8 of an inch so that we're at the same spot.
I need to get a little bit higher because I just recorded up your shorts.
Ooh. So I've got this set to the same angle I've got on the opposite side.
So what button do I push if the screen goes blank?
You can just touch the screen usually.
Oh, okay.
So I've got, do you see how much is going to be exposed here if we do the same thing on both sides?
That's fine.
If we're covering this all up,
Just fill it in.
If we're covering this all up anyway, we can move our angle out as far as we want or not. So right now, they're both 1.5 inches from the outer edge, like I did on the other ones. It's perfect on this side. This side we'll have to use a little bit more mortar. And now, I'm gonna mark the curve of the wood arc that's hidden behind this template. Because I'm going to be keeping that same number of inches to follow, so I keep the same pattern. I've already got the perimeter marked out.
And then
our narrowest point here .
Hey, Dad.
Is he sleeping?
I think so.
Okay.
All right, so I've got a template here for where we're gonna put the tile. I just followed the arc. There's a wood board back here that has a arch on the top, and I just measured the narrowest point on the brick to the arch and made a mark. And then I marked my stick here, and I just measured from the arc to the top, and I'll just fill that in. Before I draw my solid line, I'm actually going to find the center point, fold over so that my outside angles meet, and then the arc will be symmetrical from the right side to the left side. And that'll be our template for figuring out our tile design.
Awesome.
Right, I've got my tile mosaic template taped in approximately the right spot. Just want to make sure that I've got the correct dimensions when I start working out where I want to lay my tiles. And next I'm going to go ahead and take the same template and see how it fits above the other 3 arches that we'll be using it for. All right, I'm on the second arch on the south wall, and it appears that my template is going to be the right size for the mosaic portion. Next, I'm going to go ahead and tape my wood arch template up and see if that matches as well. All right, I've got the template on the wood arch, and I was able to add the extension. This template also matches, and the extension behind here actually has the full piece with the point on it. So I was able to draw my lines on so we have a perfect fit when we cut our wood overlay. So far we're 2 for 2 with the templates. And I'll repeat the steps for arches 3 and 4 on the north side of the house. All right, on to the final arch here. This one's a fair amount bigger. It goes over 2 windows, and I had a few problems getting my initial template done. Couldn't get I was using painter's tape so I wouldn't leave any residue on the brick, and the vinyl I was using for cutting my templates was just a little too heavy, a little too unwieldy, as it had been rolled up to keep it up there. So what I verified today was that my wood template for the bottom portion, the wood arch, is a perfect fit, and I verified that the arc of the template for the tile mosaic is a fit, and the sides are a fit. So I remeasured the height of the tile mosaic arch, and I will redraw the upper portion before I start doing my design element. But all in all, really pleased and glad that I remeasured everything before I got started.
Okay.
Daddy. Okay, no. Now we should be able to just take the paper, pull that tight. Now I really don't want this paper underneath here. So if you can hold the front corner. Hold the front corner. Dad, hold it down, don't lift it up. Dad, you're gonna pull the paper out from underneath with me. And now,
I'll pick it up.
no, we'll both pick it up. I'm not chancing this. Put it as far over here as you can. Okay. All right, next up, I'm taking my template and I'm outlining it on a piece of 1x4 non-sticky mosaic mesh. The next step will be to transfer my mosaic template and glue it onto my mesh. All right, to get ready to start gluing on the mosaics, I'm going to tape some Glad cling wrap over my work table. I want to try to have this relatively flat. And the reason for this is to keep any glue that goes through the mesh from sticking to my workspace. This should be able to just peel off once I'm done. So every area that's gonna have glue on now has wrap underneath, and it's nice and flat. So I plan on applying my mosaic in 4 different sections. And as you can see, I'm kind of leaving tabs here to tape my mesh down so things aren't sliding around. And once I get to approximately 1/4, I'll use a X-Acto knife and cut my mesh so that it can be lifted up in sections to be applied to the arch. I think that it's just going to get too heavy if we do it in one solid piece or even 2 or 3 pieces. So I'm going to do it in 4s, and I'm going to tape this down accordingly. What'd you find, Amara?
A leopard frog. Look at his hind feet. Look at the pretty pattern too.
It's beautiful.
And look, see those round circles? I think it's his ears. Right behind his eyes.
Yeah. Let me try to get his back legs again. Very cool. Thanks, baby. All right, doing a new method that I think is going to go a little faster. Before I did a template on paper, and then I had to transfer everything over to my mesh. So now I'm just working on the piece of mesh, and as I get to a break point, I cut, and then continue on, and then cut. So I'm doing it, it's actually about 2 times faster than the old method, maybe 2.5 times faster. When I originally started, I didn't know I was going to be using mesh, and I really think that's the best plan for keeping the spacing and being able to get things firm since I'm applying them vertically.
What are you using?
I'm using weld bond glue to apply my tiles, and it's working really well. I'm using a combination of ceramic and glass, and underneath my mesh I've got a layer of Glad wrap, and I'll show you what happens once the glue is completely dry. Come here. Once the glue is completely dry, the mesh just lifts real easily right off that Glad wrap. And so once I peel these off, I'll just have everything in the 4 to 5 sections that I have where I have my cuts, and they'll just be applied.
How come the glue doesn't stick to the saran wrap?
I don't know why, but I just did a little research and that's what I found out, and it's working perfectly. It just pulls right off, and it's like having a prefab mosaic tile sheet. So I've got 2 ready to go. Both of these I did with the old method, and hopefully these next couple will go a lot faster.
Cool.
All right, before I continue on, this is mostly set up. My glue's still, it's basically dry, but still curing. I'm gonna go ahead and use a utility knife to cut the mesh. So I've got a workable piece to be able to put up. I'm going in sections that are between 20 and 25% of the total length. And I got a little bit overzealous on this end. But I'm going to go ahead and just cut my mesh like that. As long as I have a cut made completely through, it won't be an issue if it's exactly 20% or exactly 25%. So I'm going to cut this, and I've got my sides secured so I shouldn't have any slippage. So I went ahead and cut along the edge here, and when I got to this bottom end, I did go ahead and cut around this black rock and then over to here. That way I still have my securing tape here for the next part of the mesh. It just makes it easier so that things don't slide around. And to make sure I've gotten it completely pulled apart, I just do a quick check, kind of pull with my thumb, finger, make sure I've got it cut all the way through. And there's a spot here where I did not get it all. So I need to come back and cut that. It'll just make it easier when I go to actually separate these. I won't be having to try to cut when there's tile on both sides. All right, I've got my grout on here. I'm using unsounded grout, and on the other mosaics, when I first tried to clean it when it was wet, I was following the instructions that I had found on other YouTubers, and it wasn't working well. The recommendation was to clean over with a paper towel, and it was showing it just crumbling off while it was still damp, and it was doing nothing but gouging my grout. And I've since figured out that reason is because that was sanded grout and this is unsanded grout. So I'm just wiping over and over and over with a wet sponge. They're not going to be completely clean, but it's going to be a lot better than having to basically chisel off the top of each stone and tile and mirror like we did on the first floor. So I'm almost ready on this side to stop, and I'll let it harden up a little bit more and get a batch of clean water and start cleaning it up again. And the final step will be polishing with a t-shirt once this is drier. So again, if you're using unsanded grout, cleaning it off with a paper towel is not gonna work. You're just gonna have to use a damp sponge. And you can see I'm getting a little bit more off each time. And this is about clean enough to make it super easy just to do the final cleanup once it's dry.